Y'all, full disclosure, this is going to be a little all over the place. Hey folks, it's Mary, aka MercyTriumphs, and this is Slow Crochet. I'm going to talk really fast. I am talking about color seasons. I'm talking about the book Color Your Style by David Zyla, and I'm also referencing a few other YouTubers. This is my attempt to take hours and hours and hours and hours of research, conversations, convoluted permutations, all this kind of stuff, and try to put it into a way where I can make better choices in the yarn that I buy and the projects that I make. That's the whole deal. That is what I'm going for. In the course of that, I am looking at personal style. I'm looking at colors that really work well on me. Not necessarily colors that I like or that I love, but colors that work well on me. And I'm really only trying to focus on colors at this time. David Zyla's book is really the second that I've read in this realm. It still works with the premise that there are 4 color seasons and that everyone kind of falls into those. I did not find that to be incredibly helpful, so I did reference a couple of other YouTubers, a couple of other color analysts to go even further, and the one that I liked the most was called Color Class, and they really go into detail about 16 color seasons, that within those 4, there's 4 designations within them, and then there's even a lot of leeway. There's a lot of different places where you can kind of flow in between different seasons for different reasons and different occasions. So it is not like a cut and dry science, and one of the things that David Zyla does say in his book is when you're doing this, it's okay to have things that are like smash hits, and it's okay to have things that are nearly there or almost there or good enough. So with all of that being said, I'm going to go into what I've just filmed. Technically, this is Editing Mary filming a new intro because I feel like I was a little chaotic. I was really excited in what I was saying, a little bit all over the place. So bear with me, number one. But number two, know that this is not an exact science. And again, the main goal of this is to help me pick out yarn colors that work for me so that I have fewer projects that when I make them, I don't end up liking them. Maybe I loved the yarn. Maybe the yarn was a great deal when I bought it, but hey, after all that time and the thing is finally finished, I don't care how well it fits. If the colors don't look good on me, if they don't flatter me, if they don't bring out my best, if I don't like what I see when I look in the mirror, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the good deal on yarn. It wasn't worth the time and the frogging and the modification of the pattern. None of that matters, right? And ultimately, what I want to get to is things that I love. I am slow crochet, but I'm also kind of a mostly minimalist, as much as maybe a crafter can be, right? But I don't want to have things in my closet that take up space that I just have for no reason. I want there to always be a purpose, and if I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to wear it, then it can go on to someone else who will. So with that being said, let's get into Color Your Style and all of like the color analysis that I have been engaging with in the last little bit. Hours and hours and hours. Well, I can't count the hours. Do you count the hours on the YouTube videos that you watch? Do you count the hours of thinking about things when you're in the shower? No. So here we go. Hope you enjoy, and thank you in advance for your patience with me as I bounce all around. Now, I love color, and I realized this since my last video about it. I do have a video about the first kind of book, or one of the big ones that landed on the scene several decades ago, about color seasons. It's called Color Me Beautiful, and it says that everyone can kind of be broken down into a spring, a summer, a fall, or a winter, or an autumn, if you prefer. And that was a really great lens to kind of start thinking about color as it applies to how it looks on a particular person, me in this case. But I don't think that quite went far enough, but I do want to put a note in here too. I am not a big shopper. I tend to use what I have, and then on the rare occasions that I do get to go out, I do like to buy secondhand. I love thrifting, but I also don't want to have a ton of pieces. In fact, I was watching a video recently about the concept of like a 40-piece capsule collection. And I was thinking, do I even have 40 pieces in my wardrobe that I use on the regular? The heart of it is to really only have what I'm going to love and what I'm going to enjoy. So where I am right now is not where I hope to be. And in that video, I showed some of my favorite clothes, but I didn't show a lot of my least favorite clothes. In fact, a lot of the things that I wear, even in these videos, might not be my favorite. They might just be the practical thing that I'm wearing because my lifestyle does not really require me to look a certain way. It's very practical. It's very stay-at-home mom, for example, things of that nature, running errands, all of that. But what I want to do, not only with my clothes, but really with my crochet, is to bring the two together and not just put together colors that I love, but colors that work well on me. I think I do a pretty good job in general of making sure that colors kind of go together and work together. And so if I were a painting and I was only painting with the yarn and maybe the colors of the clothes that I'm wearing, like the t-shirt, then it could work really well. But once you start factoring in the color of my hair, the color of my skin, the color of my eyes, that kind of thing, that's where I want to actually fine tune and hone in. And so with that in mind, I have picked up another book, and this is the book Color Your Style. And this is by David Zyla. And so this is a book that I've actually, full disclosure, I've actually looked at before on like an e-reader app. I could get it digitally through my library, but I wanted to get it in person so I could actually read it through at a different pace, have it in my hand. But I will go ahead and say I'm a little bit more prepared now that I have the physical copy for what this book entails. So this is still kind of the intro. I have to go and do a little bit more research, but I want to show you guys where I'm at so far with Color Your Style. One of the major things in this book is that you choose your colors based on the colors of your own body. So in order to do that, you need to take a really close look at your skin, at your lips, at all the different colors in your eyes, at all the different colors in your hair, and you need to do that in really good natural lighting. Now, as I record, it's a rainy day outside. I have a natural bulb overhead. I have some warm light back behind me and over here. So what you see on camera may or may not be exactly true. But this is an exercise that I've already done with some crayons. And I wanted to show you kind of what I came up with and then where I want to go with this. So without going too much into detail, here is my crayon drawing and trying to find some shades and colors of the colors that are just naturally in my skin tones. And the thought is, if you know what your personal colors are in just your own body, then that's going to help you pull from colors when you go to choose outfits, or in this case, choose yarn. So you have a skin tone, you have kind of like your blush color, you have colors that are in your eyes, your irises, you have colors from your hair, and you're really looking at kind of the lightest colors and the darkest colors. Now, this is really not specific. These are crayons. I pillaged my children's crayons collections, and it's still not quite as accurate as I hoped it would be. So as I do, I got on my library website and I started grabbing color books. And this is something that I ran into when I was looking at the 4 color seasons, and I took the book Color Me Beautiful with me to the hardware store, and I was pulling out paint chips, and I did feel a little awkward doing that. Not too bad, because I'm pretty secure in that regard. If someone came up to me, I would just say, hey, I'm working on design here, so I'm getting some swatches for design. But it's not as exhaustive as maybe, hopefully, something like this will be. This is a Pantone color book. I haven't even looked through these, but I'm really hopeful. Ooh, look at that. You got some Andy Warhol in there. I'm really hopeful and excited that maybe having a book with good printed pictures will help me kind of narrow down and really hone in on some of the colors, and even go from not just like this general, like we're generally moving in this direction, but really go into specifics. I had a wonderful commenter on my last video who really brought up a lot of questions for me and made some good points about color theory in general, which again, I'm kind of a beginner at. I can kind of intuitively think like, okay, that looks really good with that and things of that nature. But she really honed in on the fact that colors can be more saturated or more subdued based on like how much white or black is mixed in. Colors can be a little bit gray on the undertone. They can have like a warmer tint with more yellow kind of mixed in, or a cooler tint with more blue mixed in. There's a whole lot to color theory. It's not just here's one color. And I guess you can see this too, like if you ever watch the sunset or the sunrise, like how do you even name and identify all these different colors, right? We're not a box of 10 Crayola colors or 8 Crayola colors. There's so much variation within there. And so in that sense, this can be really challenging in terms of getting something really precise. And even as you go into it and you're starting to, for example, look at the colors in your skin tone, like how many colors are there just in one skin tone? Or even just looking at your veins, how many different colors are there in your veins? It's wild to think about. We are so complex and so beautiful, and I love that. But then there's also this challenge of my goal is to fine tune the types of yarns that I purchase, the colors that I purchase. You know, and even then you have this added layer of complexity of what's in my budget and what fibers work well and what weights of yarn and what colors do they come in, all this kind of stuff. There's all of this variation. So why am I even doing this? It almost seems like it is an impossible task to hone in on. So all that to say, I'm not going for something super precise. From that first video, I was thinking about I need to start moving in the direction of brighter colors, less kind of gray colors, less kind of muted, desaturated, kind of grayish undertone colors, and really go for things that are a bit punchier, a bit brighter. On top of that, are there colors that I'm naturally drawn to? And this is one of my absolute favorite hats. This is like a coral red, almost like a koi red. It's definitely more red than it is orange, but it's a really warm red. I don't wear a lot of fuchsia or magenta or like bluish pinks or purples. It's this kind of bright red, or it's like well, you can kind of see it here, this aqua turquoise. Now, the shirt I'm wearing now, it's for other reasons. It's a practical thing. So it's not something that I normally would grab just on my own, but it also kind of creates some contrast there too. This is more of like a medium gray versus like a dark gray. And even then, someone else in the comments was wonderful and said, don't wear grays, which I actually agree with. A lot of the grays that I have and that I wear are not ones that I picked up for myself, but they might be my husband's hand-me-downs, or they might be for some other practical purpose. And the sweatshirt that I have is gray, therefore I wear it to be cozy, and I'm not going to go out and buy a new one just because it happens to be my right color. But should the time come where I need something like that, that's when I can then move in that direction and buy something in more of the colors that work better for my skin tone. So it's that dance, right? I want to be really wise with the resources that I have, not only in the clothes that I wear, but also in the yarn that comes in. I'm going to go and do a bit more research into the book, and I'll tell you all about that process. I'm not going to give you a full synopsis of this book. I'm just going to pull out the things that are really relevant to me and see if that will help me as I move forward. So with that all said, I'll see you here in a minute. Y'all, that has been much longer of a process than I anticipated. Now, I did read again this book, this Color Your Style, and it has been really informative. Anyway, let me just go over the overview. Basically, you are looking for a skin color, which is a color that makes your skin really come alive or really blends with your skin. It's a very intimate color, so that's one. That's called your essence color. Next, we have your romantic color, which is like your blushed skin color, maybe like the blushed skin on your hand. Or for me, I just like bit my lips together because that's really more of the blush that you're going to see is up in your face. That's your romantic color, which is like a color of passion. Next, you have your dramatic color, which would be the color that you see in your veins. Then you would have your energy color, which has to do with the darkest color that you find in your eyes. You have your tranquil color, which is the lightest color in your eyes. And then you have your black, your khaki, and your brown, which are kind of your neutral colors. Your black is going to be the color of like the line right between the white of your eyes and where the color starts. Your brown is going to be the darkest color in your hair, and then your khaki is going to be the lightest color in your hair. So this threw me sort of for a loop. I had originally done my little set of colors, and I just used crayons for these. Ta-da! This way. And to be honest, they were the cheap crayons. They weren't like the professional grade artist crayon. So I didn't really get as true, but it gave me a place to start moving towards. And so then I grabbed a color palette book, the Color Scheme Bible here. And then after that, after I had gone through and kind of picked out what colors I thought worked there, like what would fit in those different categories, I pulled out, this is a Pantone book, Pantone, the 20th Century in Color. So it's not just blocks of color, but it has different kind of color schemes at different times in history. So I went through, and what I like about this is it has the exact name and the number. So it might be like straw, which is Pantone 130922, for example. So I could go through these, and I was sitting here under natural light, and I was like holding up my hair to it to just see like what are the tones in here, what are the tints, tone shades, all that kind of thing. So that has really kind of helped me think more about what are some colors that I'm going for, and also where I would fall in those seasons, because David Zyla here does indeed go with like the 4-season idea. The spring, which is going to be brighter and warmer. Wow, that little effect was not, I didn't expect that. Spring is going to be bright and warm. Autumn is going to be warm and kind of like deeper, richer. Winter is a cooler tone that's still really deep and rich, like saturated colors. And then summer is more washed out colors, more grayed down, softer colors, but it is a cooler tone to it. And so this is where I kind of was getting a little bit hung up, because I take all of that and I didn't see that I still really fit into a color season per se. I didn't feel like I fit really neatly in, because I have all this gold and brown in my hair, all this yellow. It's not really yellow, but it's really a gold. When I was little, I was blonde. I used to tan a lot more easily, and maybe because it's a snow day outside as I record. It's the middle of February. But in the summer, I do get a little bit more tan, but I've also started to burn more. So I can't really tell that I have a super strong cool or warm skin tone right now. Maybe when I was younger, and I think actually when I think back on it, I was able to wear some of those true like bold pastels to a greater degree than I am now. So kind of put a pin on that in terms of how things have changed over time. One of the things that I really appreciated was the emphasis on looking at the colors that you naturally have in your skin and in your eyes. Even on my driver's license, I think I have the color hazel, because my eyes are not really blue, they're not really green, they're not really gray. I used to like the quote from Princess Bride of eyes like the sea after a storm. This very romantic idea where I had all these different colors in my eyes. So finally, I ended up not being able to sleep one night, to be honest. And so I was in one of our bathrooms, which is painted a very pale, pale blue. In fact, when the paint was going on the walls, it looked close to white. You could barely tell it was blue, but indeed it's a very pale blue. And we have natural light bulbs in there, so like full spectrum bulbs. And the pictures I took in that room to me were really, really telling. So I got a close-up of my eyes, and you can see all the different pale colors in there. You don't really see a black. You don't really see striking contrast. You see all these kind of soft colors that are mixed in, almost these grayish colors. When you look at my hair, you don't see blonde, you don't see brown, you see all these kind of different colors in there as well. And furthermore, my hair being as long as it is, the hair that's closer down to the bottom, the older hair, the hair from maybe 5 years ago or more, is definitely a lighter color. And then I'm starting to get some gray streaks just right around my face, right at the top of my head. So in that sense, it was really throwing me off too, because I was thinking, all right, I'm light. I'm probably spring because I'm not light and cool, I'm light and warm. So that would put me in a spring category. David Zyla tells a lot of stories about different clients, and actually I did this first and then I went back in the book and realized that he had described this process as well. But I was folding laundry in the bedroom and my husband came in and I just started telling him what I'd been thinking about. I said, honey, I know you think I look great and everything, but what are the things that you think I really look good in? And we started this discussion, and it was so interesting because he was kind of opening up a lot of what color theory really does make sense. And as I've kind of gone through it, there's a couple of YouTubers that I will leave in the description box. One of them is Ellie Royden, and then the other is Color Class, which I found to be more interesting in terms of really going into depth and detail about some specifics. And they, especially in Color Class, talk about there's not just the 4 color seasons, but there are 16. And they go into some other nuances. As I've been going through their videos and taking notes, that's given me a lot more confidence to not necessarily have to say I am a spring or I am a summer or I am a autumn, but that I have some leeway and there's some variation. And even as life changes and I go from the golden blonde or the golden brown and I start getting some of that gray, those kind of little streaks of silver, all of the bright gold is turning like a nice silver. There's actually some sense to it, and I do have the ability to kind of choose what I wear based on that. So let me go back to the discussions I had with my husband, and I'm actually wearing a couple of things that he said, hey, these things look amazing on you. This basic kind of light to medium chambray shirt, he said I look great in it every time I wear it. And when he says I look great in it, it's not because it's the form, but it's because the shirt does not wear me. I don't fade into the background. When I wear it, the color is not the first thing that you notice, it's me. It makes my skin come alive. It pushes me forward. It's not washing me out. I'm not just kind of blending in with what I'm wearing, but I'm actually standing out from what I'm wearing. So that kind of description really was helpful to me. And he said, really, it's more of the lighter colors. He kept using the word delicate when he was saying, these are my favorite pieces on you. He chose this hat, this kind of mint green, pale mint color of hat, much more so than one of my absolute favorites, which is this one. So the mint green being a more delicate color versus this one, which is a lot bolder. I still love this color. I think it's fabulous. I think it's fun, but it's nowhere close to like the romantic color, the color of my lips, even my flushed cheeks. It's nowhere close to this. It's too bold. And he said, you know, you can wear those things, but know that they're going to be the first thing that you see. And so sometimes when you wear them, that's saying something about you. He said sometimes, you know, people might wear bold colors because they want to actually hide. And I thought that that was a really interesting statement because in this Color Your Style, it's talking about each of these different colors bring out different emotions in you. So even though this color, this bright coral red, might not make my skin come alive, when I wear it, I'm saying something and I'm trying to communicate something. So let me go back and show you just a couple other of the key pieces that we found, because we looked through a lot of my crochet and then just some of my clothes. So let me show you just the clothes that he really liked. Very basic sweet sweater, which is like this pale dusty pink. It's very pale, and it does kind of bring out my skin tone some. It's a little bit gray on me, but still pretty close to what we're going for. He said this color of hat, this one is like a reddish undertone chocolate brown, but he said that this one goes really great with the colors in my hair, so I could get away with it. It's not gonna overpower me because it's kind of gonna blend with my hair. Then he said something interesting. He said like this bucket hat, bright as it is, he said a hat like this looks like I'm wearing a costume. And to be fair, I said, you know, I am going to wear it as a costume. I'm wearing it with my swim clothes and it's going to bleach out over the summer. You know, it's going to go a little bit lighter. But I thought that was really interesting too. Like he continually was saying that the really bright colors were ones that made me look like I was more wearing a costume. And he kept saying delicate, delicate, delicate. So a couple other things that he really liked. He liked just this pair of shorts. These are just athletic shorts I'll wear when I'm doing chores around the house or going out for a run, something like that. In that lighter kind of medium, like teal green. And then these I had to choose because these are my favorite pajama pants. I love this color, that kind of periwinkle blue. It's a little bit more medium. It's a little bit brighter than like some of the dusty washed out colors. And that's also kind of a thought too of within the summer and the spring color seasons, you know, there's various intensities, there's various amounts of like blending gray and softness into it. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to be able to go in between various shades. Like, you could even say that these two blues are pretty similar. You could say that these two greens are pretty similar. One is just a little bit brighter. One has a little bit more of white mixed in. And then one other color that I wanted to show you, this one is a top that I really like, but I tried it on for him and he said, Mary, don't wear that. He said, if people see you from afar, they will think that you are naked. So I thought, okay, I've at least found an essence color. I think this is Warm Blush from Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton. But I thought, okay, well, that kind of makes the point of your essence color, your skin color being like a skin tone, and it's a very intimate color. So good on you, David Zyla. You nailed that one. We found a color for my essence color. The other thing that I found really interesting in going through this was how many times I'm drawn to like blues and kind of bluish greens. Those tend to be colors that I naturally just love. They always look good on me. They always look fresh on me. And so I was thinking about that in terms of color seasons and kind of listening to these different podcasters, these different YouTubers, these color analysts talk about things. For example, when color class was talking about summers, they said avoid orange, avoid strong yellow. You could do like an icy yellow, like this kind of yellow would be okay, like a very pale lemony yellow. But your strong, like Crayola yellow, even like your ochres or mustard yellows, those are not going to work so well on you. And that was something that my husband had confirmed. He said, no, there's no orange, there's no real fuchsia, there's no real purples in your wardrobe. He said, I even remember a purple dress. I don't even remember this dress. I think it might have been like a maternity dress. But he's like, you had a purple dress and it looked awful on you, and I always hated when you wore it. I'm like, you never told me, but thank you, because I was probably not feeling my best at the time. It's been really interesting thinking about how these different colors slot into these color seasons. And so when I look again at the David Zyla stuff, and I especially look at my skin tones, we're light. The colors that I naturally am are lighter. I don't have like a true dark black or even like a true dark gray anywhere. And so thinking about like, should I be wearing black? Black is really harsh on me. These really intense, bold colors maybe aren't the best for me. Now, I can love them. And even thinking about where I've been in terms of like olive green and these woodsy, rich kind of autumnal colors, why have I loved those so much for so long? How come these really bold colors have been part of my life? Well, maybe that's because I'm starting into a change of seasons, not necessarily color season, but just in general. As I do get a little bit older, I do have a little bit more gray, and even my skin goes from being easy to tan to a little bit cooler in tone. Maybe that's part of the adventure. And maybe, maybe there's a difference when I wear my hair down where you get more of the gold versus when I wear my hair up, and what you see first of all is more of the kind of gray tones that are in my hair, more framing my face. If all this gold is kind of piled up here, you can really see, can't you, see the difference? Maybe that's part of it too, and that's okay. Last thing that's really compelling in terms of using like the David Zyla approach. Y'all, I was picking out Pantone colors, and the colors that I was trying to nail down are the colors in my eyes. There's so many different shades, so many different colors of pale blue, pale green, pale gray in my eyes. And I found that really to be pretty interesting, that the colors that, even though my skin tone is warm, my hair is warm, some of the most powerful colors to me, the things that make me come alive, end up being those pale blues that really are in my eyes. And so in that sense, I found that to be really compelling and kind of to describe what's going on, because this is the thing with a theory, right? Color theory is a theory. And a theory, if it's a good one, ought to be able to describe phenomena pretty easily and pretty accurately. And it also ought to be able to predict outcomes. So if this color theory of using your essence colors and your dramatic colors and your energy colors, if this is really a good theory, then it ought to help explain these phenomena and help it make sense. So in that regard, seeing that I have all these different colors in my eyes, and they're lighter colors, and they make my skin come alive, and they make me kind of step forward in my clothes and are framing that, enhancing that, not shouting, then I can say, all right, this is probably a decent theory here. A couple of other things that I just wanted to point out in the Color Your Style book, it does go into 24 archetypes. And these are things like the playful princess, the tawny autumn, like the maverick, or the sexy librarian, things of the earth mother, things of that nature. And so David Zyla does break every season into like 6 different personality archetypes, which makes sense because the idea is that your colors, your natural colors, naturally help sculpt your personality and draw you to certain things. And so in that sense, I found that slightly challenging because I think we're a lot more complex than that. However, it did give me pause and it helped me think, what are the roles that I've been playing versus who am I actually? So many times we are in stages of life. We might be at jobs. We might be in caregiving roles. We might be kind of forced outside of our natural personalities to be something in order to accomplish something or make certain goals happen, right? I don't like conflict, but I am a mother, and so I am called upon many times to not only settle conflicts, but to kibosh conflicts, right? Like I have to engage. I have to discipline my children because if I don't, I haven't been doing my job properly. So I have to go outside of my normal, what my preference is, even my default settings, in order to become something I'm not, and grow in that, work on those weaknesses and grow there. And so that then maybe pushes me into being a bit more forceful. Look, I love being gentle. I love being delicate. Again, that word that my husband loved to use. But I'm asked to be forceful. I have some pretty fiery children, and I'm fiery too. So maybe that is where I am being drawn to bold colors like these. It might not be my natural default setting, but I'm drawn to it because this is what I need in my life. This is what I'm trying to bring out in my life. And maybe personally, my default settings, my essence colors, my tranquil colors, maybe those are not what is making me forceful. It might make me beautiful and harmonious, but maybe I actually need to be forceful in this moment, or I need to be professional, or I need to be taken seriously. And so that's where using color kind of substitutes and helps me access those traits that I need in that particular part of my life.
Editing Mary here, coming to you from my cozy crochet corner, video link below. But I did want to clarify that David Zyla does indeed take into account like your version of red, and that is your romantic color. That's meant to be, I'm looking at my notes here, your heart energy, your loving color, your passionate color, a power color for you. Also, your dramatic color, the color of your veins, that's meant to be a sense of power and charisma and authority and strength. And so I think, just to clarify, in the things that I was talking about in terms of like the wrong red or these bold colors, those are accounted for. It's just for me, I've not been wearing like the harmonious shades of those. Instead, I've been going for like more the crayon box version instead of finding what is unique to me and my particular coloration. So let me jump you back.
Moving forward, however, I think I want to rely more on some of these neutrals. So my version of black is actually more of like a cadet blue, kind of a navy blue, which, to be fair, I have a sweater that I'm going to be making out of this gorgeous kind of dusty cadet blue. And even I have a current sweater in process. Y'all, I'm going through all this yarn, all this stuff on my desk. I currently have a sweater that is a beautiful neutral navy. And I think that kind of ties in again with some of the deeper colors in my eyes. And I think it'll play really well against some of the other colors that I'm going to be working with and hopefully bringing into my life. A color that I just got is this KNC. This is the color Aquatic Awe. This is a really close match to what is in my veins here. So that would be like my dramatic color when I want to feel really powerful. And what I like about this too is it is kind of on the lighter side, but it has the depth to it as well. It's not just like a single color of yarn. So that kind of works with how I don't really have a single color in my eyes, for example. Another example, small project. I am working on a little scarf here, and I'm trying to use, again, some of those lighter tones, those lighter colors, and going really with what my husband has described as works for me, that kind of lighter aqua green and that paler pink, a little bit dusty, but definitely a pink, not a lavender, not a purple there. But then I could contrast that with another project that I'm working on. These are definitely more autumn colors, or even maybe even spring. There's some brightness to this. There's some intensity here. And even though I'm really loving this project, I can tell you right now, it's probably not one I'm going to keep. Maybe I'll wear it as like an accent point, or maybe it'll be something I can wear in certain seasons. I do like to dress a little bit autumnal in the fall, for example, but it's okay that everything I have does not necessarily go in the direction that I'm kind of moving in. Yeah, I guess these colors do kind of muddle together some, and you could read that almost as like an olive green from afar, which is a whole other trick that I think the ladies at color class were talking about how when you have multiple colors, you can blur out your eyes, just kind of blur them out a little bit, maybe even in like a Photoshop app, or maybe even like in your phone, you can blur the photo and kind of look at the overall effect of that color. Yeah, finally, I wanted to mention I do have a sweater's quantity of these 3 colors here, and I have this kind of creamy, warm cream as most of it. The main part of the sweater is going to be this, but I have these 2 colors as well to use as accent colors, and this is something I've been waiting to get started on because I just want it to be just right, so I haven't pulled the trigger on making this yet. But it is encouraging to know that I do have things in my stash that I now feel confident that I'm going to work towards, and as I make them, they're really going to be staple pieces in my wardrobe. I will be able to kind of let some things go, and that will probably be another like style system or style analysis that I go through in the next little bit. But in terms of color, I think I want to just kind of put a bow on it right now. Big questions. What season am I? Well, I'm going to say I am probably a summer spring because I have to have lightness. I'm a little bit brighter in some ways, but I'm also a little bit dustier in some ways, and I'm a little bit warmer in some ways. And so I'm not going to nail myself down and say like I am a spring, I am a summer. I'm kind of flowing in the middle there. I have a lot of different things going on, but even though I have a lot of warmth to me, it's those blues that really kind of make me pop, and there's those really light colors especially. So if I were to pick out like what are going to be my signature colors, I could use the list from David Zyla. I could use like the essence color of my skin. I could use all the different colors in my eyes. I could even use like the colors of pink in my lips. Honestly, I think that I could probably take some of my olive greens and use those more as like khakis or neutrals or even browns. Much as I love those colors, it's because those remind me of being out in the woods in nature, and that's bringing nature into my life and bringing that sense of peace and calm in the midst of everything chaotic that's going on outside of me. I do like to process internally a lot, and so sometimes I need my environment to be really peaceful in order for my internal world to have a space to calm down, right? I'm trying to manage the internal overstimulation with the external stimulation. But as of now, I'm feeling really confident on what I'm going to be looking for in yarn colors. So the next step then is going to be to start looking at shapes and my body type, not just my coloring. So thank you so much for listening to me go through all of this. I will link as much as I can in the description box. Would love to hear your thoughts. We've gone really kind of full spectrum from Coloring Me Beautiful in the 4 seasons all the way to like 16. Again, those resources are below if you're interested in any of these other channels or the David Zyla approach. I'm even going to put on his Pinterest boards if you're interested in that. I have not gone into full detail on any of this. I've just tried to blah, blah, blah. Thank you for commenting and liking and all that general YouTube-y goodness. I really do appreciate you. And if you've made it this long, thank you. And if for whatever reason then I'm not your cup of tea, thank you so much for listening this long. I do appreciate you. I do hope I will see you again soon. Bye.